Hello and welcome to episode 17 of the CPRW podcast. I'm Colin. I do Colin's Punk Rock World and CPRW Records and this podcast. Today I am joined by Jordan, who does All Right Mope Promotions at the New Cross Inn.
Hello.
We got Makky, who promotes in Crowley's. I get it wrong every time. How do you pronounce
Crowley's, yeah.
Crowley's.
Hey.
And we've got Maša, who promotes under the name Mope Promotions in Edinburgh.
Hiya.
Is everyone okay today?
Yeah, all good, man. All good.
Lovely, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay. Enjoying the weather by closing my curtains. The sunny Bedford day.
It's so bright in there.
It's mad. Like the sun, this is really rubbish content if you're listening on Spotify. If the sun just like literally shines right down at this time of day into our bedroom. So yeah, curtains are closed. So you can see me.
For productional purposes.
Yeah, this is a professional podcast. So the thing I'm remembering to do, which I always mean to do but always forget, but I am remembering at the moment because I'm getting better at this. What have you all been listening to at the moment, musically, obviously?
I've been spamming the Best of the Worst's new album, Better Medicine, a skacore band from the US.
Yeah. I've heard good things about that. I've not got around to
It's
listening to it
so
yet.
good.
I think you told me good things about it, and I haven't got around to
I've been
listening to it
obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of them.
They're on the same label as Kill Lincoln. I think Pook's put him on Pook out as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Bad Time Records, who are doing amazing stuff in the world of ska.
Yeah, that's it. Bad Time Records. So good.
What about you, Maša? What are you listening to lately?
There's a band from Edinburgh called Nelson Savage, and they released new stuff recently.
Yeah, I love Nelson Savage. I met Kev years ago when he was playing in Elk Gang.
Yeah.
It's like their old, like, I guess, more shouty band.
It's very, very different to
Yeah.
Elgin.
They're a great band of Nelson Savage. Cool. Right. So today we are talking to the promoters about promoting gigs because a chap messaged me on Facebook recently called Jake Welsh and asked for us to do this episode. So
Fair enough.
that's where I get my ideas from now, other people. So hopefully it delivers. We've got a load of questions to work through that he's suggested some. I put a thing on Instagram asking for some more questions as well, and a follower of mine called Ilsa from Germany sent up 7 or 8 questions as well, so shout out to her for that. Jordan sent a question as well, which I think I wrote down. I've forgotten which one it was, but Jordan did send us a question for a podcast he was on.
Did I?
He did.
Oh, okay.
And so did Mr. Paul Smith from B Sharp Promotions. He sent a question directly for Jordan, actually. So we get that one out of the way. What's it like been working with Paul for the last year?
Well, I've actually been able to see that much of him, obviously, because of recent circumstances and all that. But yeah, I mean, he's like we've been friends for a long time, so it's kind of just like nothing's changed. Like all we talk about is music anyway, and football, and you know, that's kind of like it's just in a professional way. He's my boss, but he's my mate.
Nice.
Sounds like a really good thing to have, to be fair.
Oh yeah, man, I'm so lucky. Like it's amazing. You get to work with your friends. It's awesome.
That's the dream.
The other guys as well, you know, they're really good guys, and he's assembled like a really good team, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, from what I can tell from the outside, he has.
Yeah, but let's not give him too much love because this podcast very often turns into the Paul podcast, and his ego's big enough as it is. So
well, he does support Spurs as well, so there is that downside.
What a scumbag. Yeah. So to the proper questions. So, how long have you all been promoting, and what made you start promoting?
Who's going first?
Go for it.
Properly for about 3 years since I put on the first Broken Arrow show, which Jordan actually played.
That was Skiv's like first or second ever gig, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember you asked about it, and I wasn't like sure who you guys, because I knew you from Drop This at the time, but like I didn't. But yeah, I think from that show, there was more to say uni project, and it kind of like went further when Crowley's offered me like a monthly spot, and then I've since come to work for the venue properly. So from about 3 years from now, really.
Cool. Maša, how did you got you into it?
So with Mope, I've done that for a little bit over 2 years, I think. And before that, I was helping with some other companies and stuff. I mean, companies called DIY anyway. But I just really wanted to get involved more in the scene because, like, when I first moved here, I didn't really know anyone, so I started going to gigs and stuff. And yeah, I was basically like I just wanted to do more than just attend gigs and stuff. So that was it.
Awesome. Well, where do you put on your gigs mostly? What venue?
So it's Banshee Labyrinth, and I'm lucky because I work there as well, so it's easier to.
I've always wanted to play there.
Oh yeah, it's a cool venue. So and there's another venue called Lee's Depot. It's a smaller venue, but it's also like a really nice place to put on gigs and stuff.
Yeah, I've not been up. I've been to Edinburgh before, but I've never managed to get to a gig yet, which is annoying because I talk about the Scottish punk scene quite a lot, like on this podcast and just on the blog. And I've been to the Your Own Fest, but I've never actually just done just a standard gig, which that's on the list of things to do when we're allowed to do things again. Just go up to Scotland for some gigs and have a nice weekend. Go up to Arthur's Seat and love it. Don't go to Edinburgh. Last time we went to Edinburgh, I think it must have been about July time, and it was just full of tourists, and it made it quite frustrating to get anywhere. But
there's no tourists now.
Yeah. Oh yes, it's true. Yeah, right. I'm not allowed there now. Oh well, you, Jordan. Jordan, how did you get going in this promoting world?
I mean, I've always done bands, and promoting was really just a supplement to whatever band I was in at the time. Like, it was never really a career thing that I'd ever really thought about until probably in the last sort of 2-3 years. It was always just a means to meet other bands and like put on shows in my hometown and just be part of the punk scene and stuff. And and then from that, obviously now I'm doing it full time and it's like the best thing ever. And sorry bands, but you're gonna have to take a size now. And like, it's all intertwined. I think it's so like integral one to the other for me anyway. I'm not saying like across the board, but the two have always been connected for me. So I've always tried to keep two prominent kind of thing.
Yeah, so you kind of learn how to promote. Just wanted to put your own bands on to get your bands gigs,
basically. Yeah.
Where did you used to promote before New Cross? Was it in Kent?
Yeah, Poco Loco in Chatham.
Okay, yeah.
Before that, I mean, I was in at like different Medway venues. You had the Beacon Court, which is obviously now Flats, story of our times. And like my first gig I ever played was at the Rafa Club. Yeah, which was like just a box. It was like a hall that was, like a shoebox. You just go in, it had a bar and it had a stage. It was like used by the RAF because obviously Medway, where I'm from, it's all like naval and quite like maritime and all that is quite a big thing there. So you had this like just box room and they would let you put on punk bands. So like you had probably about 4 or 5 punk bands in Medway that all played at this place like together within like a really short time frame, probably like 6 to 8 months, and then it just kind of kicked on from there for me anyway.
Awesome. What's the best and worst things about putting on gigs, do you think?
The worst is always putting on a show and no one comes. That is always the
Hangovers.
worst.
I thought you were going to stop at putting on the show. The worst is putting on the show.
No, I think, that's definitely the worst. You put all that effort into promoting it and then nobody turns up. It is very disheartening, for sure.
Yeah, you feel bad for the other bands, don't you?
Yeah, well, I think one of them I put on is Skiv, Our Lives in Cinema, Eat Dirt, Tail Block. And when I booked that, I thought, this is going to be good. And then nobody came. And I was so gutted for all the bands that turned up, all really good bands. And then like no one in Hastings just bothered to show their faces. So it just turned out it was just a really quiet Friday night in general.
We have that effect on places that we play. That was a great gig. I don't remember leaving that gig.
Is that when you discovered Tiki Fire?
It's not when we it is when we discovered it, but it's when we were spiked with it by our friend Mac, who bought us the shots, and he put them on stage like right before we was supposed to play, and he was like, "Oh, I'll put some shots on stage for you lads. Like, make sure you do it before you play your first song." And we were like, "Okay, yeah, cool. Like it's Jaeger or something," and it was this like 80% tiki rum, and just the set got progressively worse as the night went on. Like, I don't know if you even was you watching us? Was you there, Makky?
Yeah, I think so. I was because I was half running the bar at the same time. So.
It was a car crash, that gig, and it was amazing.
You did look like you were having a laugh, that's for sure. So at least the bands had a laugh.
It was a really good little tour. Like Our Lives in Cinema, Eat Dirt, and Tail Block. Like they're all our good friends now because of that. So
is that the solution to poorly attended gigs? Just get the bands really drunk.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, we had a good time regardless of whether people came. So maybe some bands are better than others at making the most of it, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, that is true.
Certain scenes as well are different, I think.
Yeah, I suppose that I learned that definitely. I think Hastings prefers the more short, fast, angry song kind of punk, and so like the melodic stuff, which definitely that tour was.
Mm.
You're not angry enough, Gordon. You've got to be angrier. When you
Apparently so.
The further south you go, the angrier you get.
Well, they did have Eat Dirt. Eat Dirt, you can't get any less shouty, surely.
Pretty much, yeah, good point.
Maša, what about other like worst things about promoting? We'll start with the worst, then we'll move on to the best because we like to be positive.
Worst, well, it's the whole stress of it, and I'm always worried about money and not like. Yeah, obviously that comes with people not showing up to the gig and stuff, and with Edinburgh it's really problematic because there's so much going on. So you can have like a really amazing band on and people just don't come because there's so much other stuff going on in town. But yeah, I think that's the main thing, just stressing out whether people are going to show up or not.
Would that be a problem in London as well, Jordan, you think? Because obviously there's a million other venues in London.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of competition, but it's weird. Like in London, people do tend to kind of stick in their neighbourhoods and their areas where they are. Like obviously you've got all this access and all these transport, and it's amazing. You can get anywhere you want, but like. Yeah, generally, like, I mean, it depends on location, but if you're talking like specifically the New Cross Inn, that's so accessible from like most of South East, and also Kent as well. I mean, I'm from Kent originally, and I used to go to the inn like twice a month. It's so accessible from there as well. Yeah, sorry, I forgot the question.
Do you think venues or like gigs in London potentially suffer because it's London and there's lots of other things going on?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now, what you're saying about how accessible New Cross is, like, because obviously I live in Bedford, and it's quite a long train ride compared to if you live in London, but it's like train down to London Bridge and then one train to New Cross and you're there.
How long does it usually take you?
Hour and a half.
Yeah, I think you said
Not too bad considering I don't.
2 hours round trip.
Yeah,
Maybe.
then we live north of London and New Cross is South London, so
Yeah.
not bad.
I don't envy that journey for you on a school night, though, Colin. Like, honestly.
Oh, when we're allowed to actually do stuff again, I'm gonna just die. Because
I remember you saying how much healthier you feel because of lockdown and stuff.
Well, 100%. I've said this before. Given that last year has been full of disease and whatnot, I don't think I've ever been healthier in my adult life. So,
I love that.
I work in a supermarket as well, so I've been around it still.
Yeah, right. Front line, man.
Yeah. I don't know how that happens, but yeah. What are the best things about putting on gigs?
So what was the question?
What's the best thing about putting on a gig?
I think it's like seeing, like, if you do have the people turn up, just seeing a crowd have a really good time and really reacting to a band and just seeing a really good atmosphere and just thinking, I did this, I put this on. I think that's definitely one of the best feelings.
Mm.
Is that like a universal best thing, you think? Like the right answer?
Yeah, and you get to watch live music.
Yeah.
You get into the gig for free.
Well, essentially, you are paying them still.
Well, yeah. I think I was talking to Mike Smith about this, and he was sort of saying that's why, part of the reason he likes, he's not really that involved in Beach Up anymore, but that's why he used to enjoy doing it, because he could get in the gig for free. I think it's why he was in bands as well, so he could get in the gigs for free.
Yeah. I've got a question for Maša and Makky. Have you guys ever paid anyone out of your own pocket before?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's a universal promoter thing.
Yeah.
That's why you just don't make enough money and you just still want to fairly pay the band. You just sometimes have to.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And I've accepted it as well. I'll just cut my losses on that.
On the occasions when there has been a poorly attended gig, how do the bands react generally? Are they all right about it, or so you had it? I mean, don't name names, but
mixed reactions.
I've only ever had one problem. Go on, Maša. Sorry.
No, I just for me, it's always been they're always been great about it. Nobody ever complained. Everyone understood that just what happens sometimes, and it happened that once we had to pay a band from our own pocket, and they found out about it, so they ended up being upset about it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it can cause more problems, can't it?
Yeah. I mean, we ended up with a bunch of nerds because they were just there's no way you're doing this for us. So yeah, for me personally, bands have always been great about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think that's because it's a DIY punk kind of thing, and it's that sort of, it is more community based, where maybe in a different sort of musical genre they might kick off a bit more?
But it extends further than DIY punk. I've seen it in the goth scene. I've seen it in the alt rock scene, and generally people in sort of grassroots, lower level kind of bands. I don't want to say discredited by saying that, but generally they're more down to earth people, and they're these are real people with day jobs and stuff, and they know what it's like, and I think especially with the job.
They need the money more, but at the end of the day, they understand.
What else we got? On my list of questions. A good question to follow with that one. I was engrossed in conversation, so I wasn't really thinking about what comes next, because I am a professional. Now. Yeah, good. How do you price your gigs? Do you think, and with the benefit of hindsight, do you think probably should charge more?
I find it hard because before I was promoting, Hastings was spoilt by other promoters putting on free gigs. So when you start wanting to charge, you kind of get people turning their nose up at it, going, well, you didn't used to pay. So it's very tough. It really depends on the scene, I think, of how other people have priced gigs before. I think it also depends on popularity of the act, whether you think you can maybe make an extra bit of money out of them or not.
Or it depends on the size of the band. But if the agents sort of asked you for the ticket price as well, you've got to honour it. You've just kind of got to go with it.
Yeah.
Or the band as well, you know. But generally, if it's like you say, Makky, like if it's DIY or whatever, I'll try and keep it as cheap as possible for sure.
Yeah.
I used to do I remember, and this was recently as well. This is like 5 years ago. I used to do gigs for £2 entry in Medway, and like just to think of that now is just obscene.
Yeah, that's an absolute bargain.
Yeah, so that's why I kind of asked the question, because I feel like I've been to gigs that's sort of similar price, and I kind of think about it now as like how much money must like the venue and the bands have made from that, because you could have charged like double and like £4 or £5, and no one would have complained, and like obviously then more people get paid better.
There's a dog.
Hey.
There's a dog now. No one cares anymore.
What was the question?
Who cares? There's a dog now. Yeah, so I remember. I think you played this gig, Jordan. I mean, you played acoustically when the Overjoyed headlined. It was like an all-night New Cross.
Yeah, one of my favourite New Cross gigs, man.
It was like Eat Defeat, Burnt Tapes, Triple Sunday, Cereal Box Heroes. It was Resuscitators.
Disgusting line.
And I swear it was like £3 if you brought online. And me and Emma were going, we're like, that's a ridiculous price. So we just turned up, paid a £5 on the door instead. Because like £3 for all those bands, plus with an overseas band. Like Eat Defeat coming down from Leeds, like.
Yeah, shout out them bands. Like Overjoyed, I think, are the best pop punk band in the world at the moment. Yeah. So
I got to answer the door. Sorry, guys.
All right.
It's right, Makky. His Amazon Prime's here.
Let's all say nasty things about it now. How's it going? It'll be a nice surprise when he listens back. Oh, the oldest bump. I'm gonna have to blur that for YouTube now, aren't I?
What are we betting? I'm gonna bet Deliveroo. Actually, I'm gonna say
he did say lunch. So what do you think? What do we think he's got?
Oh, I don't know. He likes wings. Like he's a wings man, isn't he?
He's a wings man. That's what I see from his Instagram.
Yeah.
That's what life is like now. We don't have gigs. We're showing food. What's he got?
Here we go.
McDonald's.
Did it? Is that McDonald's?
I don't know. I saw some yellow.
Go on.
Hello. We've been trying to guess what you've got.
Oh, it's McDonald's, mate.
Yes.
Oh, yes, Colin.
I win. I don't know if I should be proud that I recognise the bag, but.
I ordered it ages ago. It's like a good half hour late.
No, I hope you got that for free then.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I wasn't late.
Right, what else have we got on the list? I was so distracted by food and dogs. Professional podcast. I don't know if this question will really apply to you guys because you all sort of put on gigs at the venues you work at. But like, how important is the choice of a venue for a gig?
I think it can be very important because in Hastings there are certain venues that are just better at putting on certain shows. Like there's the Carlisle in Hastings, which is more better for the rock and metal than it is for, say, the punk. Even though it does put on punk and ska, it's less often.
Love that part.
The Tubman as well was prime for being a punk venue when it was about, where again it put on the other stuff, but it was specifically more a punk venue than anything else. So I think choice is, if you know the scene well enough, it's if you could get at a certain venue, try to get at a certain venue, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think like the size of the venue is really important as well, because like if you know that it's a smaller band, you try. I mean, at least I try to put them on in a smaller venue. So, because it's just sad if you book a large venue and then there's like 20 people. So if you book a smaller venue and then 20 people show up, it still looks like a bigger crowd. And like I like Banshee as well because I know the sound guys who work there. So like from that point of view, important as well.
How big is the Banshee sort of capacity?
It's like 70 people, 80 people.
That's quite small still then.
Oh, wow, that is small, yeah.
Yeah.
I like gigs like that though. Them small intimate gigs, like tiny
Yeah.
room.
Yeah. I think the more I go to like bigger gigs now, I never have as good a time.
Really?
Yeah, I just because I'm so used to obviously small crowds and sort of knowing everyone in the room, I guess it makes it a lot more fun. But it's because you go to like an O2 venue and it's just massive, and it just feels, I don't know, it's like maybe a feeling of like a smaller gig. There's more a feeling of belonging. But you go to like the O2, you're just another person who's at that gig. Does that make sense?
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
That's
Yeah.
just me getting older and not liking
No,
being
I like
around
me.
that many people.
I don't think it's an age thing. I think it's just you're used to the sort of shows that you used to go into.
Yeah.
Also, you enjoy things more when you're with people that you know and like. Like,
Yeah.
you know, with familiarity breeds fun, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Not wrong. Like that's what can follow on for that. Oh, I'm falling apart already. Like how, like with gigs, like do you have like specific people you try and work with like often, like you've networked with, and how would you like go about networking?
Yes. Definitely, you have bands you like working with, for sure.
Yeah.
And you get repeat gigs from them, and you build a good relationship and stuff. It's kind of like it's a reciprocal relationship because you help them get bigger or whatever, not bigger but grow more fans, and then also they help you in selling tickets or whatever, and I think it's a very much a two-way kind of relationship.
Yeah, well, I've also worked with a couple of other promoters, like co-promoted with like the guys at Toxic What's It, like because they've perhaps got a bigger following than I do. They've kind of helped me get certain like events, like what's the word I'm looking for? Advertise better, if that makes sense. Like because they just got a better following. And they're great guys to work with, and so top bunch of people. So it's quite fun to like collaborate with other promoters sometimes.
Yeah, like especially in Scotland because it's small and everyone's like a big like small family even. And I've had most of the promoters in Scotland helping me out with when I first started and like sending bands my way, telling other people about me promoting shows and stuff. And I've really been working with Kev from I forgot his promotion name now.
Anti-Manifesto?
Yeah, thank you.
Colin,
I've been working with Kev.
Nice.
I've been working with Kev pretty much.
Kev was the guy who put me in touch with you to invite you on this podcast.
Yeah.
Scotland is an amazing place to play. The scene the punk scene up there is brilliant. Shout out Green Room in Perth, and also like the Dundee punk scene as well is ridiculous. Like,
oh yeah, they're definitely the.
Like Derek, Tragical History Tour and stuff, man. Like he's smashing it up there with his new venue as well. He's got it up there as well, isn't he?
Yeah, it was just before the COVID as well. They just started like the last Look Your Aim was happening in the venue. It was really fun because it was really small, but it was amazing atmosphere and everything.
Yeah, we were at that, and it was just such a nice weekend. It was such a shame that sort of momentum just got.
Yeah, it is a massive shame.
They say Get It Together played up in the upstairs Rad Apple's part of the venue, and it was just that was basically a floor show with Get It Together. It was just, I guess, how would you describe Get It Together, Maša? You probably know them better than I do.
How do you mean?
Like their sound.
Hardcore.
Yeah.
Melodic hardcore.
Just really sort of as a live set, it's just insane. It's just bodies and like that sort of, but it was a really positive thing as well. Like it wasn't like people getting sort of bouncing off each other, being aggressive was a really nice positive mosh pit, I guess, and
Love it.
crowd surfing. I think did they open with Party Hard, Andrew WK, which was just amazing. But yeah, okay, we've got 5 minutes left on this part of the meeting. So Jordan, you've got a couple of festivals hopefully coming up. Could you tell us about them, please?
Yeah, certainly. Psychobilly Freakout. It's a London's only psychobilly themed festival. We have rockabilly and some 50s themed stuff. We've even got like this, they're like kind of farm psychobilly. They're called These Scarecrows, and they're amazing. They've got 2 drummers. Like, that's ridiculous. I've started this new festival. It's really early days. It's just started. We've only just announced 2 headliners. It's called Punk and Roll Festival, and it's kind of like a mixture between old school kind of rock and roll punk and more garagey and, you know, like more garagey stuff. So like you can see Chelsea and see Nosebleed on the same lineup, hopefully. Like, I'm using them as an example and probably shouldn't say that, but
it's funny, I was thinking Nosebleed as soon as you said that.
mate, they are like prime for me to like what I want to get them in for sure. Frosty deals with them though, so like we have it's kind of an unwritten rule, but if you like talk to the band in the New Cross Inn team, then they're kind of your band and you talk to them.
Oh, okay.
And Frosty is the one that he's booked them for Cumberland Free, which is in a few months, which is going to be an amazing gig. So I'll just be like, hey Frosty, you want to book these for Punk and Roll? And he'll grumble and say something very, you know, dry and crass, and then do it.
While we're talking about Frosty, should we plug Filthy Militia's Kickstarter for the EP? Yeah, like Filthy Militia are how many people play in that band? 5, 6 piece, I guess.
Yeah,
we'll call it a 5-piece, and it could be a 6-piece. But yeah, like a sort of ska. I say ska punk. They're not really that punky in the sound.
No, they're definitely
ska,
closer to two-tone.
Yeah, but really great band. They're doing Kickstarter to fund their next EP. If you look on their like Facebook and page, it'll be all over that. And yeah, go help them out because they're a great band and lovely people. So
big up.
Yeah, man, definitely lovely people.
Yeah, so we'll end this part of the meeting now before we time out completely, and it just goes whoop, and it'll be weird on the recording. And we'll be back in a minute. Hello and welcome back to part 2 of this CPRW podcast. Still joined by Jordan, Makky and Maša, and we're still talking about promoting and putting on gigs. So we'll move on to another question. We'll go, I suppose, quite a serious one for at the moment, like with like obviously the last year and all the COVID fun stuff we've had. Like, what's like the moral dilemma of putting on a gig at the moment? Jordan, this was your question you asked. This was the question you asked, so we'll let you go answer your own question first.
Pressing stuff as always.
Yeah.
It's I think it's just probably because it's something that I've been dealing with, the moral quandary of putting on shows. I see a few people on Facebook, unnamed, have been airing their opinions on things, and it's it is something you think about as a promoter. I just wondered if the other two if that was in the back of your mind as well, like coming back into things.
Yeah, definitely. I personally have been quite reluctant to like try and book stuff yet myself because of everything that's going on. I kind of want more of a green light before I jump right into it.
Yeah, and also like I don't want to book anything at the moment because all the venues are still closed. So there's no like it's from both perspectives. Like I don't wanna give a band like a green light if I'm not sure if the gig's actually gonna go ahead. So if anyone contacts me, I'm like, well, I mean, I can pencil it in, but I can't guarantee that the gig's gonna go ahead because I don't know when the venues are going to open. I don't know what's going to happen with that. But then also, having so many people at the same small space, I I'm kind of two-minded about it. Like I'm not really sure how.
If everyone gets vaccinated, though, or the right people get vaccinated and stuff, does that kind of fill you with any kind of confidence?
It does, I think. If people are vaccinated, it gives me hope that we can get back to some kind of normality with gigs sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I agree.
It's nice to talk to other promoters about this, Colin.
Good. I'll just sit back and let you guys chat. I'm well up for not doing any work. So what you guys, because you've Reading have announced that they're going to happen, and that's obviously August. And Slam Dunk have moved to September, and they announced their mostly American band lineup yesterday. And what do you guys think of that as promoters? Like, do you think those bands are going to appear over here? Will they be able to?
Risky.
I think I am kind of hopeful. I'm weirdly not as skeptical as a lot of people when they say the whole lifting restrictions in June thing. And I think with it being September, I think it is more likely to happen than not, if that makes sense.
So the way I looked at it is I feel like it could happen, but I just feel like will all those bands be able to? Because I know America, they're behind us with how many people they have vaccinated, which makes sense because we're obviously a much smaller country than America. But
okay, yeah, I see what you mean now. Guess you're right. No, I'm still quite hopeful about it, if anything.
I'm hoping that things can go back to more normal, sooner rather than later. But I think September is pushing it still, to be fair. Especially for bands that are coming overseas and stuff. But we'll see how.
I think as someone who goes to gigs rather than puts them on, I am more hopeful this time around with how things are going than how they have been in the past, but there's still that element sort of in my head that's sort of saying don't get too excited because you only get sad and that's not good for anyone's mental health, is it? So
true.
But my fingers crossed firmly for till the fest in October. I think that's hopefully gonna happen. The Ollie Ward's putting on his massive.
Yeah.
That looks huge as well.
I've actually brought tickets.
With that.
I've actually brought tickets for that. That's the first thing I brought tickets for in over a year now. It was a weird and familiar sensation. I'm not quite so hopeful yet. I've started looking at Airbnb, but we'll see.
How long do you wait till you book that as well?
Well, it's London. There's plenty available, so it'll be fine. But
if not, just crash at Paul's, mate.
Yeah. This is it. I go, Paul, Mike, Jordan, you're all South Londoners. So, where can be another stay? Yeah, I think that's the really big question with promoting at the moment, isn't it? What to do, but hopefully sooner rather than later, it'll be good again. Jordan can actually do his job at New Cross Inn. First time since he's been employed.
I had a total of 1.5 months of actual real life gigs in this job, and then it's just been spent on lockdown. But despite this, we still managed a bunch of seated shows last year and to some really good success. And I've had some feedback from some bands about the venue and how we've handled it. And I've obviously full credit to all the staff there because they absolutely smashed it during that little period where we could have gigs on. And yeah, unsung heroes, the venue staff during that time.
Oh, definitely, for sure. So I didn't quite make it to any of those shows. I did have a ticket booked for the Call Me Malcolm one, and sadly that just didn't happen due to more lockdowns and stuff. But it looks like it was handled well, the whole lot.
Yeah, it went really well. Maša, did you do any seated gigs or anything last year?
No, because everything was closed in Edinburgh still. Right. I mean, the Banshee was open for, I think, 2 months or so, but no events, nothing. So
we didn't either.
Scotland still have stricter rules, or they had stricter rules in place than we did at the time. Is that right? Or I made that up?
No, it's still. I think it was stricter before, and it's still pretty strict now.
I mean,
Like we're still not allowed to travel.
I would sort of say that's probably for the best. I think a lot of us thought, let's go move to Scotland at the moment. They seem to have a more capable person in charge.
Imagine if the pubs were open on Sunday in Glasgow.
Oh,
with Rangers winning the league and stuff.
Oh yeah.
oh
Yeah.
Jesus! Yeah.
I mean, not to go too much into like how stupid that was and like talk about the football side of it, but I just seen that and was like, now every club in England, is when they win a game of football or when they win a league or a cup or whatever, or qualify for Champions League, or just they're now going to have all those people outside of the stadium.
It's right to say you have no fans.
Yeah. 1-0 away at Stoke on a Wednesday evening. And
yeah. It's going to have all your fans outside with the flares. Oh, what a disaster that was. What else we got to be? We'll move away from football. So the nice positive one, like back in the day when we could do things. Like, what was the community like at the shows that you put on, and like how have you built it up over the course of your promoting times?
I can't really take any credit for building up the scene in Hastings. I think the Toxic Watcher guys did that first, and I've just kind of jumped on their hype of it, if that makes sense. They started putting on much better shows than I did way earlier, and I just kind of thought I quite like what they're doing. I might as well join them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Ride the coattails, as it were.
Pretty much.
What about in Edinburgh? What's the scene like up there in your community?
Yeah, like it's weird because like obviously there's always been a scene or community of people who went to gigs and stuff. The problem is there was no gigs, if that makes sense. So it's actually Kev and I who started putting on more and more gigs, and so I feel like we kind of are. So like I don't want to take credit for it, but I feel like we are doing something for the scene at the moment. Well, not at the moment, but before COVID and stuff. So, yeah. So I think it's getting better now, because there were times when nobody would really take Edinburgh because everyone just went to Glasgow or up to Dundee. But usually it's like the same people at every gig, so that's really nice.
I find that weird, that because obviously I'm right in thinking Edinburgh's the capital of Scotland, isn't it? So yeah. So I find that weird that bands would avoid Edinburgh, right, and go, because the band wouldn't avoid London.
Just like the scene is much better in Glasgow. Like the music scene is better in Glasgow, because so I think everyone just goes to Glasgow because there's bigger promoters as well who have built their reputation and stuff. So people just directly go to them.
Okay.
But I think it's just the whole Edinburgh just having too much happening. So it's just, I don't know. It's a combination of everything, I think.
Okay. And obviously, I'm sure most people listening will know about New Cross in Jordan, but we'll chat about it anyway, just in case. Someone stumbles upon this.
The thing is, the scene was already built up at the New Cross Inn, and there's been a community there for ages.
Yeah.
But when I was at Poco Loco in Chatham, that was like a different kettle of fish. It was kind of like this pub that supported local arts, local music, but it didn't really have any punk in there. So once again, like for purely selfish reasons of I wanted to see bands in my hometown, I put punk bands on there, and then like even the staff now like when's the next punk gig and stuff, and like it's quite because it's a small venue, it's quite a locals kind of place, and it's very bar-y as well as a venue. So you have your core of regulars, and like they're all into punk now because of these punk gigs I've put on, and so well not all of them, but you know, like it's cool sharing that with people that probably wouldn't have access to it or whatever, you know. Like,
so what you're saying is you invented punk rock in Kent.
Absolutely. I am solely responsible. me and Davey Wild, and then he passed the mantle.
Okay. How did you go about getting a crowd though if they weren't putting on punk gigs? Were they just people wanted to see punk and then you started doing it, basically?
To Jordan. Isn't it?
What's,
Yeah, it's to Jordan, yeah.
Sorry, what do you mean, Colin? Sorry.
Like, well, basically, because you were saying like no one was putting on punk gigs. So how did you get people to turn up? Was it basically just because regulars were there and enjoyed it, or was it different?
Yeah, it kind of went in waves in Medway. Sometimes, like, you know, through the years, it would kind of, there'd be a crop of punk bands, and then it would all sort of fade away. It's the same as any small town, I suppose, and small town scenes. Like, they kind of do that and, you know, fluctuate.
Yeah.
But I think the punk thing just happened because I didn't give a fuck. Like, I just went, put on gigs, and if people come, great, and if they don't, then also great. I don't care. Like, I can drink beer and watch wicked bands. Fuck it. I'm really lucky to have some really good friends that like alternative music as well and like punk, and they would come along if they lived in town, and then, you know. But then I credit to the bands really, because the bigger the bands and the better the bands, you know, the more people would turn out for it. I was quite lucky at Poco where I could put on ska punk, and obviously now I'm at New Cross Inn. I can't touch ska punk.
Oh no.
So that was fun.
Sorry, no one likes ska punk anyway.
yeah. No one really likes it.
No one really likes it. What else we got on the thing? Have I missed any out? How do you like promote your shows? Like, what's the best way of going about it? And I guess how's it changed as well over time?
Facebook was always my primary source, thanks to event pages. That's the invention of that's made it so much easier. I always made flyers, like, at least depending on the size of the show. If it's a bigger show, I put out more flyers and stuff like that. But if like a small local show, I just put some in the window, maybe at the kebab shop down the road, something like that. Just an extra bit of promotion for it. Anyone else?
Yeah, so I do social media, so like everything, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and we always do posters. But with posters, I always find it like there's this company in Edinburgh. It's like a promotion company. They actually pay people to go around and take other people's posters off the walls.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. So
that's horrible.
That's horrible.
It makes no sense, especially because it's like a bigger promotional company as well, and they do completely different gigs to what we would do. So it just makes no sense. So it's really difficult to like pick where to go and put up the posters and stuff. But yeah,
I'm shocked by that. That's
I
horrible.
Yeah. Because then, like, most of the time, like when I'm buying posters, it's out of my money, and think if that's going to waste because someone's ripping them down, that's horrible.
Yeah.
They're paying someone to do it as well. What?
Yeah, like, that's a job. What do you do, mate?
Jeez, that's horrible. You ever done like the old school, like standing outside of other gigs and flyering and?
yeah.
I've nearly got in trouble before doing that as well.
Yeah, I've always thought, like, because someone's done that at one of my shows before. I'm like, go away. This is my show. Stop promoting your thing.
Do it, whatever.
Yeah, I had to do it like that one show that I've kind of promoted that did no work on the Together Fest. The work I did was I stood outside a couple of gigs in London flyering. Because I went with like Hot Water Music were playing at the Underworld must have been the November, and they had a wad of flyers. I threw a load around the Underworld first because the world, who cares?
Yes,
that's the Live Nation thing, so F it. But but on the back, because Paul spent money, and he, like, on one side of the poster or the flyer was the Do It Together stuff details, but on the other side they're advertising the Flatliners gig. So brains come in, I'll flog that side of the flyer, because I figure Hot Water Music fans are probably bigger Flatliners fans than they are Lightyear fans. So I was like, yeah, flatliners, and just hoping they'd turn the thing over and think, oh, this looks fun as well, just so I can get rid of them all and go home. And then the next night, Real Big Fish were playing in somewhere in London as well, Islington, and me and Paul both had our wads of flyers, and security were like, "Oh, you're allowed in with these," but Paul did Paul things, and we got in with them. And then I remember just being outside afterwards, handing away all these flyers, and it's really outside of my comfort zone of talking to people I don't know and trying to sell them something, come to this gig, please. And
I think that's why I don't usually do it. I'm just not a salesman when it comes to things like that.
it's hard, for people who do it, and then I'm sure we've all been to loads of gigs where especially the bigger O2 gigs, we have to walk around all the railing, and there's always so many people there giving you flyers for stuff you don't want, but you take them because you feel bad.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this guy can't go home. Yeah.
Really good work.
That's why I don't think of those things. But I just feel
I think I've actually got still a load from the Arrow Fest that never happened. Just the whole stack.
You know what, Colin? Those flatliners and Do It Together flyers, we have a massive box of those in the office still to this day. They're sitting there, and I see, and they're next to my desk, so I see them.
I think I've got
not a lot at the moment, but
a few still here that I kind of want to throw away because Paul spent money on them, but also I have nothing to do with them now. Just make a display, just take a wall and just Do It Together fest.
Make a collage.
Yeah, or that'd be the worst collage ever. It's all the same picture. Do you find with promoting on social media it's harder now with algorithms and whatnot? And how do you try and beat them?
Yeah, I suppose depending on the size of the show, that I have buckled into the paid promotion thing, I guess, just for that extra boost.
Yeah.
Do you find it works?
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes is the answer there. Not all the time, but I think it has helped a little bit.
Okay.
I think my actual promo page on Facebook, when I share something on that, I get zero reach pretty much. But if I do it from my personal Facebook, it reaches loads more people. So I've just sacrificed annoying people for the sake of my gigs being seen by more people, basically.
Yeah.
I wonder why social media, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, they make it so hard for people to use see things people want to advertise, because it'll put people off using their website, surely, at some point.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to, and obviously they want to make money and that's why they do it. They want people to pay, and people do pay off those, but it's a weird thing. What else we got? I'm running out of questions, really. So what do you feel is missing in your scene? How could you improve it, I suppose, is a better way of saying that. I guess, I think this is one Ilsa question she gave us. I'm assuming she meant, I guess, to improve diversity and stuff like that, to make the scene a bit bigger. I'm assuming those words made sense to people, really? Or just a load of gobbledygook.
No, I get it. I just think it's really hard, specifically in Hastings. I mean, it's a small town, so you can't really ask for too much more than it already has, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot more work to be done, but we're trying, we're trying, we're trying to diversify our lineups in London anyway. But not for the sake of it, it's still got to be good, it's still got to fit in with the day and stuff. But it's definitely something in the back of my mind that I think about when I book every gig now. It's just what can I be doing? And it's hard, it is such a hard thing to think about and to take responsibility for. But you, as a promoter, by yourself. But, I think you've got to keep pushing. There's more to do, but we're definitely stepping in the right direction, I think, with lineups now that I see, especially sort of within the DIY scene and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I try to do whenever I'm booking a support act and stuff. I try to not make a lineup of all white men.
Yeah.
And try to include more diverse bands. Or
I think it is a really interesting thing with that, because you see people sort of are wanting talking about diverse lineups, and then people get really offended by it, and it's just this is how it should have been all along. And I feel like people take offense in that because they feel like they're saying we want to push all these sort of 4 white blokes out of it, and that's not the case. Oh, we want the white blokes, we want the black blokes, we want all women, men, all genders, all sexualities, all together. That's what the aim should be, and it shouldn't really be an aim. It should just be how it is already.
Yeah.
So I think everything that's happened in the last year has hopefully made people really sort of sit and think this is how it needs to be. Hopefully, anyway.
Yeah, it's definitely getting that way.
Yeah, I know. I keep calling it Ollie Fest because it's just easier to type it. Build the Fest. So I was looking at that lineup, and they seem to be. Ollie seems to have put together quite a good, diverse lineup.
From an outsider, I don't really know him too well, but I've always thought he just seems to be sort of person that would put an effort into doing more diverse lineups. So he just seems like
man's a legend.
Yeah,
I've got so much time for Ollie.
Agreed.
But I think that lineup he's putting together, I don't know if it's just because it's his festival and he just wants lots of different. Because I think that's part of what will help make lineups more diverse, is having different sounding bands on the same lineup. So rather than just having a whole weekend of gruff sort of punk bands, throw in some sort of ska and some pop punk and some indie punk, and I think that's a way of helping make things more diverse as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sure.
Yeah. I think that should fall under the diversity sort of spectrum, not just what people look like or what they're interested in, but the sound
for everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I like that.
This afternoon, which is going to be an episode that comes out before this one, I'm doing a fantasy festival lineup, and I've put together. I won't spoil it. Well, it's happened now, but it's what happens when I do things out of sync. I get confused by time travel. My endgame is rubbish because of the time travel bit. But yeah, so going through that, I put together a lineup. It's a European special, and it's a mostly gruff punkish kind of lineup, but then I just thrown in a random ska band.
Love it.
Just because I just like the idea of it. But I think it's a ska band that will work in that sound as well.
Mate, they've been putting on punk bands and ska bands since the 70s, so why
exactly.
not?
They should do it more. Yeah, what we got on my list? When you're putting together a lineup, I guess this ties in with the diversity, but how do you build it, I guess? How do you decide? Say you've got headliner, then how do you sort of pick bands to support?
I think the the first person is probably goes against what you just said before, but at least one band's out sound a bit like them first. I mean, that would work well.
Yeah.
So at least 2 bands that work well together. I think that's my starting point before I do anything else.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I ask a lot of bands around, and it's more about who's available, if anything.
Yeah. You have your dream lineup in your head there,
yeah,
and then you have the actual lineup over there, and the two are very different things.
No, all my Arrowfests, there's always been a lot of bands that I've asked first, and a lot of them just aren't available. And it's not that I don't want the bands that I got. I always love the bands I get, but you always have something in your mind first, your list first of who you want, and you just kind of got to go, okay, I can't get them. Who's a bit like them?
Yeah.
I got to the point where I just pretty much started booking the same people all the time, but it's also because especially in Edinburgh, there's more and more new bands now, but at one point there was just a certain amount of bands that I knew were good, and I knew I wanted to book. So it happened that I had like a returning lineup every month, for example.
In that case, though, I guess if you're booking a band that would be your headliner, but is from out of town, and if you book a local act that people love, you're going to draw more people in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's generally the rule. Put on a local support for your main support.
Yeah.
Yeah. That.
Awesome. What else we got on me list? There's a couple of questions left, and I'll let you get on with your days. This is probably quite a big one. But what's a dream band you'd like to promote?
Oh.
You can have any band, we'll say that's current, just to narrow it down a bit.
Right now, that always changes based on who I'm listening to. But I think right now, I'm obsessed with someone like Kill Lincoln, because the album was so good last year. So right now, I'd love to book them.
Most of mine are split up or not.
Yeah, exactly. There's that you're wearing an anti-vigilante t-shirt, and I'd love to book them. I'd want them to come back so I can book them.
What a band!
Oh, I missed that band.
I'd love to book Typo Negative, but that would never happen now because Peter Steele is dead. So yeah.
Oh man.
But Green Day.
For me, Pop or Against Me. But I don't think I'm big enough for them yet.
Who? Sorry.
Pop or Against Me.
Oh, okay. Against Me, yes.
Pop. I love that Pop in a sort of 80-person venue would be insane.
we actually tried to get them because we were putting on Fresh. When was it? Yeah.
Love Fresh.
Over a year ago. When they were on tour with Pop, and they had a day off, so we put them on in Edinburgh, and we actually tried to get Pop. We tried to see if Pop would be up for coming over to Edinburgh and do a surprise show as well, but it didn't happen. But
that would have been amazing.
Yeah, because it was in Banshee as well. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know if Banshee would have survived that, but
probably not.
But it would have been worth it. Okay, this is my last question, and if we can keep this under 8 minutes, that would be perfect, because that's how long we've got left in the meeting. What advice would you give for anyone who's looking to start promoting? We'll assume COVID isn't a thing, so we don't have to worry about that scenario. But
this one's tough.
Yeah, I just thought of it just now, so I didn't
do it.
prep you.
I didn't want to say that cliche, but don't do it.
For the sake of stress, yeah, don't. Try to have fun with it first, I guess. Don't take it too seriously straight away, because that will just apply pressure.
Yeah.
Love your music. Love music. That's my advice.
Yeah, maybe to start with bands you truly enjoy as well. Yeah, so you can at least once again just have fun with it.
So I've often thought about putting on shows in Bedford. There's no community really, but just because I think it'll be fun. I'd like to not spend so much time on trains. But there's I saw a thing come up the other day on Facebook for the only venue in Bedford, Esquires. They're starting doing a punk night every first Friday of the month or something. I was like, oh, that sounds cool. And then the first band they put on were Anti-Nowhere League. And it's just which has made me kind of feel like I really maybe should think about this harder. There is good punk, but at the same time in Bedford, I'm not aware there's an audience for stuff I enjoy. I've never bumped into anyone on a train who gets into the same gig as me. So,
yeah. Well, I guess you just don't know until you try it.
This is it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's convincing people to come to Bedford. Okay, have you got anything else anyone wants to talk about? Got any more advice? Other than don't do it and have fun?
Let's go a quick question. Who has been your favourite band to promote?
Lightyear. I can answer that one. Lightyear.
Do you mean in terms of just you listen to them when you're at home doing stuff and you love them, or as people, or like, what do you mean?
Well, okay, more or less just like your favourite show that you put on, kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Well, call me Malcolm, man, but I can't book them anymore, so.
They are great. They are a fun band to book.
Yeah.
They're definitely good there.
I feel like they're a sort of band that's easy to work with as well. Like the book, I think, like Luke's on it constantly.
Yeah.
And
For me, it was Stewie, because it was Cheering in Tinfoil, Cheering in Tinfoil.
I wanted to book them, but they never got back to me.
Oh. Well, they were the first gig that I ever put on by myself, and first of all, it was sold out, and second of all, they were just so easy to work with, like no stress. They were just chill, so it was just perfect gig, really.
Nice. For me, Clowns, the Australian bands. Yeah, it was a lucky booking because one of the venues in Kent couldn't take it, but they were just one of the biggest bands I've ever booked, and they're just the nicest people as well. And I was like shitting myself because they're a biggish band coming to a small venue, but they were just such down to earth people.
Always helps.
Yeah, so it always helps if you have like that kind of band that just like really nice to get on with, and then they just put on a killer show as well. So you can't really ask for much more.
I'll tell you who were really, really amazing lads to deal with last year during the seated shows were. Have you guys heard of Restless? They're like a neo rockabilly, like sort of from the 80s.
I haven't, no.
Sort of OG London rockabilly scene bands, and they were just like tidy, man. And they came along. It was so chill, like, and it was one of my first gigs that was seated and socially distanced. So I was really worried about masks and like people washing their hands and like just general. And they just like the band themselves were so chill about it that it kind of made me chill about it as well. And it ended up being a really amazing gig. And it was a sold out show, and obviously like at reduced capacity, but
take it.
Yeah,
that's a sellout.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll take that, man.
Awesome. I think with that it helped that because obviously as people were happy to be out and be able to play shows, that made them more chilled out about it, or they're just like that in general.
I don't know. It's the first time I'd worked with them, but they just made it so good. And I've got a relationship now with their singer who also does their bookings, and we're going to do more gigs together, and it's going to be great. He's like, we love the venue, and it's just so nice when that happens. It's like,
it makes you want to work with them again, for sure.
Yeah.
Right, cool. Right, this is we've got 3 minutes to time out, so I'll do a really awkward ending because I've still not worked out how to do that bit yet. Like 17 in, and I'm still terrible at finishing these. I guess thank you to you guys for hanging out this afternoon and talking about promoting and all that kind of stuff. And I think I've had some good advice, some good answers. So thanks very much for that.
Thank you.
All good. No, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks to Jake for coming up with the idea for this podcast. I hope it's what you dreamed of. If not, sorry. Thanks.
It's what you got.
It's what you got. Talk to the professionals if you want good content of this. Krista Makes, he does a really good podcast. I'd talk to him. Thanks to Ilsa for all the questions as well. That was really helpful. Check out You're on Facebook for all your promo stuff.
Yeah.
So, just Crowley's Bar on Facebook.
Hastings. Crowley's Bar, Hastings.
Mope Promotions, all right, mate. Promotions. That's at New Cross. And like all their pages. Are you on all the?
Colin,
Yes, mate.
Can I plug the Skiv EP quickly?
You can do that, and you've got 2 minutes 5 seconds. Go for it.
Skiv have not got a new EP out. It's called the Chick Chicken EP, and it's about chicken shop next to New Cross Inn.
I've heard the song and it's great.
Oh yeah,
Here's my review.
I am very much looking forward to hearing it. Like Skiv, like one of the most fun London bands to watch.
Oh, thanks.
Like, I was thinking about this yesterday when we were talking, and you sent me your video of Roy and Connor dicking around, and I was thinking about Skiv as like, in the nicest possible way. You can come across as a bunch of reprobates, but you're such a talented band of musicians. Like, it's ridiculous. So I've always really, really enjoyed like seeing Skiv, so I'm looking forward to he coming out and hearing those songs live as well.
You're watching a different Skiv, man. I don't know what this is.
I just watched Connor.
So do I.
Connor and his Batman t-shirts, and you're ready to go.
Yeah, whenever he's wearing a t-shirt, sure.
Right, we've got less than 1 minute now, so I'm going to say goodbye and thank you. Hopefully see you soon. Hopefully meet you at some point, Masha, in the real life.
Yeah.
When we come up, we're going to come up to Edinburgh.
Yes.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, and goodbye to Ace as well. Nice to meet you, Ace.
Oh, bless you. Bye, Ace.
First dog we've had on the podcast. Hopefully not last. Right. Okay, thanks everyone. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.